Oh, I just sat here. I just sat here for the last, oh, half an hour. Fuck. Blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't even on. That's crazy. I don't know if I want to do this again. Okay, so what I was talking about. Hold on a minute. I'm going to get myself a cigarette for this one because I'm choked now. It's 11:45. You see, it's my eyes. I don't necessarily see everything these days, right? Don't tell me, don't ask me how I didn't see that this wasn't broadcasting. How did I miss that one? Well, probably because this is only the second time I've done it. So maybe that's why, right? But then on the other hand, I mean, you can't but see how red it is, stop broadcasting, and there's a little live with a little red button there. And I missed that. So anyway, people, okay, so what I was talking about here, first of all, I'm very, very tired. So I'm kind of rocking here, right? Because I'm on my feet all day long. I was up there earlier, up there, you see, climbing up there, wiping things down, right? Because it's a dusty house, very, very dusty house with all this dirt in the yard. It just blows in. Here, I found my lighter. Okay, so I have to dust regularly. And it's not dusting, it's taking like a wet rag and wiping everything down, right? Because you have to remember, this is just one big room. So all the cooking grease and the steam and, tobacco smoke and the stuff from them cooking downstairs coming up the vents and just the dust in the yard and the mud and the grit and the sand all blowing around, cats running around. So, I'm like, from the time I get up, pretty much to the time I go to sleep, I'm on my feet all day long. And I was in the yard. I was in the yard yesterday, and I was in the yard again this afternoon. And that's not easy work. So when I'm tired, I tend to go like this, right? Because I'm tired. My body is sore. I'm achy, right? I'm lifting and shoveling and doing all that stuff. So anyway, I'm going to talk about this little GoFundMe. Basically, in a nutshell, what I was trying to say, what I did say, but what you didn't get was I've done a little financial tally, right? And with the fact that I get my child tax benefit coming in for 2013, the plan was, before John disappeared, was when I got my child tax benefit for 2013, I was going to pay off all the little bills. Okay. But before I go a little further with that, I want people to understand that I've had bills. I've had bills for the last 20 years. Home Depot, those kind of places, right? And I'd close the account. I'd pay, and then, like Zellers. One time I had Zellers. It was almost $7,000. It was paying you to pay this. To hell with this. Can't stand it no more. Just close the account. So I closed the account and I paid it off. And I've done that off and on with other bills throughout the years. So now I'm down to 3 little piddly bills and an ambulance bill that occurred when in 2013, after my grandson was taken, right? So this is a result of social workers coming in here and taking my grandson out of the house and kicking my daughter out, where my middle daughter was having a nervous breakdown because she never experienced anything like that in her life. None of us ever did. So we got charged for the ambulance. Well, I got charged. I already paid $80, but I still owe $160 from 2013. And I don't particularly want to pay it because I feel that this was done with malicious intent in terms of the social workers, what they did, knowing how the family would react within, the family, right? That it would be devastating, and it would cause mental illness and physical illness. And that's what happens when you take away loved ones from the home, right? That's why they do it. In a lot of ways, that's, there's too many problems with it, right? For them not to do it with purpose, to maim, right? To hurt. So anyway, I got to pay that off. So anyway, long story short, that's $1,625. So next week, I'm going to pay out that money. That's going to be gone. Boom. It's going to come from my child tax benefit from 2013. And then once that's gone, what's going to be left is I'm going to have this commerce, which is the big one, because it was pay off the little bills. And then John and we were going to start paying on the big bills. I'm the one that holds the biggest one, 19 grand. Because I got that when we were still living in our house before I got cut off of welfare, which was illegal in 2003. And that's pretty much how I lived, right? With my family allowance, and I had credit. So I'd pay yous, and they'd increase. I'd buy things that needed to be bought. I'd go spend $1,000 on groceries. Everybody ate, including John, right? Whatever. I'd move us if we needed to move. I had my credit card. We'd move. If a bed needed to be bought, I'd buy a bed, whatever it was. Anyway, it's been sitting up at 19 grand now for quite a few years, probably 7 or 8 years. So that was going to be what we were going to pay off after I paid off these little piddly bills. I know John would still want me to do that. And I know John wouldn't leave me hanging with that bill. So basically, looking at the numbers that I have here right now, and assuming that nothing changes over the next couple of months, right? I should be able to maintain on the household bills in the house, which works out to about $2,245 a month. That's $200 or so in cables. That's internet, telephone, and that's the second line downstairs telephone, which is only $12. And a couple of extra cable lines for modem, right? Hydro, I put it at about $175 a month. That puts it at about $350 every 2 months. Gas has been coming in at about $170 every month right now. So just between those three bills, it's $645. I want the landlord to lower the rent back to $1,550. They're saying $1,600. And I'm like, yeah, but, I do a lot of yard work. And they're like, well, yeah, but, it costs this and this. And, we have to fix that. And, blah, blah, blah. And, we don't want to have to lose money on that. We want the house to pay for itself. So anyway, that's open for discussion. So assuming it is at $1,600 instead of $1,650. That works out to $2,245 a month in terms of living here, just for that. And with my son paying rent and with this roommate that is coming back, he kind of went missing in action for a little while, but he phoned me and he says he still wants the room. So that's fine. And with my daughter, who, it's a hit and miss as usual, because she only wants to put 400 in because she never eats here or uses anything, but of course she does. Right? And so anyway, same thing with the roommate. I said, well, look, I'm going to be juicing, right? And he goes, well, I need to do some juicing too. I said, well, that's good, we got something in common. And I said, of course, if I'm making soup and I'm making bread or whatever it is, and you're around, I'm going to let you have some, right? Because it's $500 for the room plus some food. It's not room and board. It's just if I'm making soup and I have bread, that I've made or whatever, or toast or whatever. I'm talking homemade bread, right? Because that's the direction I'm going in as I'm clearing out my kitchen. But the yard takes up so much of my time, so I only have so much time in the kitchen. But anyway, you know, obviously I'm not going to sit there and eat soup and bread and not share it, right? Or muffins or piece of pie or something, right? And that applies to my son and that applies to my daughter. So even though they're paying rent, there's still some cost to food. I lock up a lot of stuff so they don't have access to everything, right? So, and then just on what I get for welfare at this point in life and what I get for Andre, and then I factor in my family allowance, which is only good until January of 2016 because my daughter's turning 18. I should be able to make it without having to rely on the GoFundMe to support for emergency living, because I'm trying to be responsible, because I am responsible, right? And I had a plan before John was taken away. John and I had a plan. So the plan is still there. So I'm going to keep working on the plan. But I still need help with litigation, because when I was talking to the lawyer, what do I look like here, people? Anyway, when I was talking to the lawyer, I told him, I says, you know, I almost feel like I need to do a citizen arrest. You know, go to Victoria and arrest somebody for this myself. And then call the cops to have them asses hauled off to jail. You can do that under federal law. Because, and this is what I was saying before this thing was not on live, right? The only people that seem to really get arrested in our society are the petty criminals that creep people's yards, right? Or, you know, welfare recipients, right, that are on low income, that really can't defend themselves over, you know, whatever they do. But like the bigger crimes, like the crime that happened to my dad, you know, the crime of kidnapping. Oh, that's right. If you're a gang member and you kidnap somebody and you hold them hostage in your house for 4 days or whatever it is, and they escape, those people, you know, gang members, right? They get prosecuted. I've gone on to the website. I don't know how to pronounce the website name, but it's like case files where, you know, things have already gone to the Supreme Court under kidnapping, right? And it seems to be mostly, you know, gang related. But when it comes to white collar crime, nothing. You know, this is extortion. They're trying to convince John that somebody is stealing money off of him, right? They're not telling him everything, right? You know, I didn't know that they were trying to accuse you of stealing my wallet. Like, what the fuck is that? Are they like, so anyway, it's on the table, people. Will I go as far as to hop on a ferry to go arrest somebody as a citizen? I don't think so. Possibly. But I think the agenda should be to go to the Supreme Court. Now, if I do it with a lawyer, it's more complicated, but it's more proficient, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be a free man here or a free woman. I'm not trying to represent myself in court. Although if I have to, I will, right? Because I have to do it for John's sake. And I have to do it for my kids' sake. And there needs to be a sense of justice with this, because there is no justice These people that are doing this stuff, they're getting away with it. And it's just a good thing that I can budget, right? And I can work around plans, and I can go with the waves, all of a sudden, woof, like woof, financially, just woof. You think that's the first time it just went woof? No, it's been like that ever since the BC Liberal government came into power. Like it's like a tether ball, You just hit it and it just goes around, and you hit it back and it goes around, and you hit it back. Well, we're just going around again, So in the meantime, I will more than likely, I haven't done it because I have to look after my family. That's what I was talking about before this thing wasn't online. I'm doing a lot of hard work right now. I'm cleaning, dusting, sorting stuff out, right? A lot of yard work. It's not necessarily fair that I get stuck with all this yard, but some yard is better than no yard, right? And, I may not have as much food growing this year as much as I'd like, considering how big my yard is, but I'll have some food, and maybe next year I'll even have more food, right? And that's important considering the circumstances, because I never really know from one month to the next where I'm going to be financially, because I don't know who's leaving, who's staying, how it's going to happen, or why, right? It's just, that's the way it is. I guess that's what happens when you get into higher rents. If you don't have necessarily responsible people with you, right, or dependable people, or, people not getting kidnapped, more than one, right, then, what do you expect, right? Like, if a poor person went into somebody's house and took them out of their house and said, come with me, and okay, you stay here, and I'm not letting you go, and here's some drugs, and you're going to listen to me, and you can't talk to those people no more, and how is that any different? How is that any different than what this so-called lost long freaking sister with her rest of her siblings, right? Because they're all quiet. If you notice, ain't nobody saying nothing, right? John's the victim here. Well, what the hell has John been doing all these years? They don't respect what he's done. They have absolutely no respect for him. So the GoFundMe is going to be more for litigation than anything. Do I expect any donations? Obviously not. Am I asking for them? Yes. Because if I can get a lawyer to represent me and the kids and John, us as a family, because that's how we're coming in, right? Then that would be the best, because I'm not trying to represent myself and the family and John. But if it comes to that, that's what I'll do. If for some reason the financial situation changes drastically over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, because my daughter gets into a fight, moves out, and the roommate decides that, he doesn't like sharing his room with a bunch of books, because there's a bunch of books in there, people. Right? He's being a very patient man right now. And I better make some good soup. And some apple pie or cherry pie or something, blueberry pie or banana cream. That would be good. Keep them happy, right? So the books can stay there. Then any donations will go towards litigation. But if something changes financially, because wintertime it gets harder, gas goes up, right? Hydro goes up. And that 2,200 might jump up to 2,400, depending on how high the gas can get. because I've had gas bills where they've been like $400 in a month. Seriously. So a really cold winter, right? So you would let it sit for that, right? But hopefully it won't come to that, because like as I'm talking to my kids, you know, I'm encouraging them to take more responsibility and, you know, suck it up kind of thing, right? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to John. I have no clue, because I don't know how long it's going to take this to court. I just know that it's going to go to court. It will go to court. So the GoFundMe will remain, and citizen arrest is something to think about, because if this was, you know, just some, not a nurse, you know, some neighborhood poor person, you know, slanging their illegal Oxycontins, you know, that they got from a medicine cabinet. And they decided they wanted to just kidnap somebody and give them some of those Oxycontins so that they could brainwash them and keep them docile and passive, and you know, so they can extort their money and try and confuse them. And that's the kind of case you would find on that website where they have case law, federal jurisdiction. But when it comes to nurses kidnapping their brothers and stuff like that, and accusing people like me of God knows what to get away with this, you know, being I've been deemed guilty, charged with something, not charged, but you know, like I'm waiting for the bank to give me, I have power of attorney. I want to know who did this, right? How they did it and why. And I want it in writing, and I'm still waiting for it, and I haven't gotten it yet. Well, the lady on the other end is, well, they're blood, and who are you? And, you know, and oh, excuse me, I've been there for like the last 20 years. Who are you? Why do I have to explain myself to you? I think you're the bank. You should be explaining yourself to me. But she's a nurse, right? And she has all those professional people on her side, right? So that's what we're fighting. That's what I'm fighting. That's what John's being held captive by, right? That's what might lead to a citizen arrest yet, because our professional people are too afraid to do the right thing, right? They would prefer to go after the petty criminal, the one that, you know, slangs the illegal Oxycontin, but not the one that slangs the legal Oxycontin, because they've got John on something. They got John on something. They've had John on something for a long time. And we're going to find out what that something is. Okay? We are. So I'm going to leave it there because this is too long. So GoFundMe, please, if you can, make a donation. It will just accumulate for litigation, unless, of course, I need it for emergency purposes. I will do a better financial update when I have more time. Citizen arrest, well, I'll get my butt to the Supreme Court, and before I do a citizen arrest, I should at least get myself registered and focused on what it is that I'm actually doing. And if we can get a lawyer on board, that's even better. Okay, so what do? Stop broadcasting.